This is 1966 and we are in Bombay. A tomboyish medical student is bunking class and her mates at the Grant Medical College have excuses ready to cover for her. Where is she and what is she up to, you ask? Well, as a joke, she's participating in a one-day event called Miss Bombay. It's an amateur pageant and hopefully no one will read the small headline in the papers when it appears tomorrow. But what started on a lark would go on to change the course of her life. And within a whirlwind 2 months, the whole world would know who she was. Hello and welcome to A Century of Stories brought to you by IDFC FIRST Bank, always you first. I'm your host Kunal Vijayakar and this is the story of the unlikely beauty queen Reita Faria. Let me paint a picture for you. In the 1960s, beauty pageants were a new thing globally. A concept hardly a decade old, India had participated in Miss World maybe once till now. In fact, within the country too, the stage was very amateur. Beauty pageants were held sporadically and mostly locally. So while they gave us beauties like Nutan, Leela Naidu and Indrani Rahman, there was no consistent national presence. It was only in 1959 that Eve's Weekly, a popular magazine, held its first Miss India pageant, and in 1964, Femina Miss India came along. As tradition came to be, the winner of the Eve's Weekly pageant would go on to compete at the Miss World and the Femina Miss India to Miss Universe. But still, at that time, there was no training, no grooming, no etiquette or dance lessons, and no precedent for how to go about it. It was a whole other world. But that was also a good thing, right? You could be anyone, your most natural self, and participate. And so did Reita. Born to John and Antoinette, Reita grew up in Mumbai with her sister Philomena in a tight-knit Goan family. She was a leggy athlete who played everything from throwball to badminton and made headlines for her hat tricks in hockey. She did well in studies, sewing and painting too. An all-rounder, I must say, but she suffered from asthma and visiting the doctor frequently as a kid, she was also struck by the magic of medicine. So she made up her mind that she would become a doctor. But as luck would have it, this Matunga girl was caught in a bet with her sister Philomena to enter the Miss Bombay race. And as you do when your sibling dares you, she took a day off college and they went to a photographer to get some pictures done. A slight diversion from her original mission of being a doctor, I must say. The whole time, they joked about how this was their chance to travel abroad and see the world. Reita didn't even have a passport at that time. At 5'8", she was unusually tall for an Indian girl. Her nickname, Mummy Long Legs, didn't help her awkwardness. Though born and bred in the city of Bollywood's glitz and glamour, Reita had no connection to the world of fashion. But aside from the small beauty salon that her mom ran, she led a protected and somewhat pampered life. Her hostel stint in Panchgani was her only taste of independence so far. And yet, much to the horror of her middle-class mum, there she was, on the 17th of November 1966, standing on a stage at the ballroom in the Lyceum Theatre at the West End in London with 66 other participants, with no ballroom gown, an ill-fitting swimsuit borrowed from Persis Khambata, and only low heels. She was not the ideal candidate that the organizers were used to. In fact, she was worlds apart from the trained models and performers that most of her competitors were. But she had these big, doe-like eyes, a large jura of jet black hair, and a winning smile. Clad in her borrowed red zari sari and a 3-pound black and white swimsuit she bought just 2 evenings before the big night, she won both the best evening wear and the best swimsuit titles. And as she rattled off her confident answers, the judges took notice of Faria's clarity of thought and unique brand of beauty. While the judges listened to Faria, a nearby island, an intern doctor was watching the pageant on his hospital shift, and a love story was already brewing in his heart. But I'll come to that later. Reita Faria was crowned Miss World in 1966, becoming the first Indian and the first Asian woman to wear the crown. One of the first women of color too. But that's not where the story ends. Once the show was over, Rita's one-year tenure as Miss World began. With that came the difficult choice between stardom and medicine. Now here, she was in a bit of a pickle because she had never planned to stay on in London. But she bided her ear dutifully, attending most of the formal engagements in saris sent by her mom from India. She made it clear to the organizers she wouldn't do any advertisements. According to medical ethics, doctors shouldn't be endorsing products. Now, once the year with Miss World was done, she returned to her passion, which was medicine. She grabbed the place she'd been offered at King's College London to finish her final year. And that's where she met the young Irishman who was so smitten by her that November night in 1966. Rita has been married to Dr. David Powell for over 50 years now. They have 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren and live an idyllic life in Dublin, golfing, gardening, cooking. What does it mean to be beautiful? To be your own person, to have single-minded focus, and to have strength of character and grace in your actions. Reita Faria had the confidence to tread her own path and not be sidelined by the trappings of others' expectations. Reita Faria's life exemplifies the life of a beauty queen in many ways, unusual as it may be and away from cliches. You've been watching A Century of Stories brought to you by IDFC FIRST Bank, always you first. I'm Kunal and I'll be back with you the next week to tell you about an economist who redefined the idea of development.
IDFC